Hi, my name is Suzanne Esper and welcome to this tutorial section. Hi, welcome to this short mini tutorial on how to panel a cake with a stencil design. So I'm going to be using my own stencil design here. Now the reason I want to panel this cake is because there's some really fine detail with a stencil that tends to poke out a little bit. So we don't want that to hamper our stencil experience. We want to have the best time possible. So therefore I'm going to be using modelling paste to roll out in a long strip to then wrap around our cake. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So here I have my stencil design in front of me. So I've already started to stencil some modelling paste that I've coloured up with a little bit of luster dust. I've went for this beautiful ombre sort of spread effect. So what I'm going to do now is going to match up the pattern on this side, finish it off, and then I'm going to show you how to wrap this round a cake. So the actual paste is sitting on top of acetate sheets. So these are chocolate acetate sheets. So it's fantastic for sticking some paste to. On the back, I've got a little bit of shortening that's holding the paste down to stop it moving around. And now I'm going to go ahead and stencil this other additional side here. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do is to match up the pattern. This is a seamless stencil. So what we're going to be able to do is to match up along that side design there. So let me just find where we're looking at. Sometimes this is half the battle. So this is the pattern here, okay? So I'm working to the top section here. So once you've got your pattern, all you need to do is move the stencil over to the side and find the space where it matches up exactly. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plastic sheet away and then we're going to stencil directly on top of the paste. So let me just grab the royal icing and I'll meet you back here. So I have my royal icing already made up. It's got a lovely white shine to it. So just like I showed you in the hints and tips section, I'm going to go ahead and start to stencil this design. So the first thing I'm going to do is to move that acetate just over a scoosh a little bit. I'm going to protect the rest of the design and stop it drying out by leaving that on there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and just line up this pattern. So let me just remind myself, so it's here, so we're actually hanging off the end here. And yeah, this is the design here. Let me just match that up. It's worth taking your time to match up. So the whole purpose of doing this panel method is just to make your life just that little bit easier, especially if you use a stencil that's got some sections that poke out. You can also wrap tulle round these if it's round the side of a cake, but sometimes those sections still poke out and stick to your tulle. So if you have a stencil like that, this is the perfect way to start to use it. Okay, so I've got that set up really, really nicely there. So now I'm going to go ahead and just stencil this last section here. Okay, so I'm going to hold it flat and I'm going to start at the top and just go along that section. Just work it across. Now remember, you have to work reasonably fast because your royal icing will be drying as we work, okay? So I'm going to get a good section on here and then I'm going to use my scraper to pull that down to the remainder of the pattern. So you want to keep the stencil flat, you don't want it lifting and any of that royal icing sliding underneath. Okay, so I've got a little scraper here, so I'm going to go ahead, start from the top and just give it an even pressure. Just as well, I've got a bit of plastic on this side to protect the rest of my design. That's the whole point of it as well. So bring that down. Okay, let me just check. You don't want to gouge out any of the royal icing. If you do, just go back and repeat that step. Okay, let me just get some more down the bottom here. You don't necessarily want to scrape over the top again because what happens is you end up lifting some of that royal icing detail that you've just applied and it can look quite dry. So try and avoid scraping over the top several times. It's not going to help your design. So you want to make sure that you take the time to make sure your royal icing is in the right condition before you start to use it on your design. Okay, so I'm almost there. Just want to make sure that it's even. So just a little touch more off here. Right, okay, so now I'm ready to take off my stencil to reveal the design underneath. So this is the exciting part. Also, it's a part where you probably don't breathe very well like me. So I'm going to pop this away. I'm going to remove the acetate sheet. Now I can see that I've got a very, very slight raised edge here. So all I'm going to do is just gently pad that down. Okay, you can use a little tool as well if you want. I'm okay with my finger. You can actually wet your finger very, very gently and just pad that down. I'm just going to brushing it over what was already there. Okay, so this is looking really, really nice. So now I'm going to let this dry. I'm going to meet you back here and then we're going to wrap the cake. So give me 2 minutes and I'll meet you back here. Okay, so welcome back. So my stencil's dry now and I'm ready to attach it to the cake. So there are a few things I've got to do to get this ready. So I'm just going to bring back the top section of acetate. So it's going to lie that on top and then I'm just going to flip this over. So the darker area I want at the bottom of my cake and the lighter area at the top. I'm actually going to turn my cake upside down and then apply it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just gently flip this over. 1, 2, 3, bring it over at the front. And because the Trex is gripping it, it's actually going to make our job just 10 times easier. So let me just move this to the side. Then I'm going to bring over my fondant covered cake and I'm just going to bring this central to me and I'm going to bring this over. So this has to go upside down so that the lighter end's at the base. So if this was a real cake, you would just flip it over. Okay, so it's upside down. So now what I'm going to do is just bring this round so that the lighter end is at the top, facing me. Okay, and I'm just going to lift this up towards me. So if I bring this here, you'll see what I'm going to do. So bring that there. So the lighter end is at the top here and it's going to meet the top of the cake here. And I've got my darker section at the top. So what I'm going to do is go around the cake with some shortening on my brush. I'm going to apply shortening all over my cake to grip that modelling paste and hold our stencil in position. Okay, so I have gone all over this cake, so I know that there's a lovely thin layer of shortening on there. And now I'm going to go ahead and apply my modelling paste. So I'm just going to take the backing sheet off, which has got shortening on it as well. Just peel that off, move that out of the way. And then I'm just going to bring this towards me. We're going to line it up at the very, very base of the cake. So we just want to make sure it's not stuck on there. Going to make sure it's lining up at the very base. Okay, and then I'm going to lift it up and I'm going to attach it straight to the cake. Okay, like so. Make sure that it is at the very bottom of your cake. So because it's got Trex, we can unwrap and replace if it's not in the right position. Okay, like so. Use the sheet of plastic to attach this to so that you can run your hand over it and make sure it's fully attached. Okay, next we're going to basically just get this all meeting up at the back end of the cake. Okay, so let me just turn this around to show you. So now we have the back of the cake is overlapping. I'm going to run a knife up the back there and then I'm going to scoot those sides together. So let me just grab my knife. So I have my knife and I'm just going to run them through both layers of paste. Okay, you're going to open one up so that you can take one off. So just make sure it's all the way to the top. Take that one away and then this one's going to come round and it's going to meet that section and you're going to have yourself a really lovely join. Now what you can do is put your acetate back over and use your hand to smooth that in so you don't damage your royal icing. Next, we're going to take this lip off. So we're just going to push this in here and just bring our knife really nice and flat at the surface of that bottom cake so that we've got a beautiful cut edge. And in that way, we don't have to add any ribbon. This is one of the reasons I like to have the stencil hanging over the bottom of my cake. Okay. So there we have our stencil cake. However, we need to turn this around the right way. So I'm just going to grab myself another acrylic disc and just flip this over up the right way, move this off. And there you go, you've got your beautiful stencil cake. So now I'd love to see how you got on with your stenciling. Please make sure you tag me at #Suzanne Esper Cake Stencils. Thank you so much for watching the videos. I hope you found some very useful hints and tips that's going to help you on your cake journey. Now if you'd like to sign up for the next videos, make sure you subscribe below and I'll see you there.